What if I told you that the most intimidating people in history rarely raised their voices? What made them so feared wasn't their words, it was their silence. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it's one of the most potent tools in the Stoic arsenal. When you choose silence over reaction, you take control of the narrative. Your enemies, who thrive on chaos and emotional responses, are left disarmed. They expect you to argue, defend, or lash out, but when you don't, it unsettles them deeply. The Stoics believe that true power lies in self-mastery, and silence is the ultimate expression of that mastery. By refusing to engage in petty battles, you demonstrate an unshakable inner strength. This isn't about ignoring problems, it's about choosing when and how to respond. Silence forces your enemies to confront their own insecurities. As they're left wondering what you're truly thinking, think of silence as a mirror. When you remain calm and composed, your enemies see their own agitation reflected back at them. This creates a psychological imbalance, making them question their own actions. The less you say, the more they fill the void with their own doubts and fears. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, silence becomes a rare and intimidating force. It's not about being passive, it's about being strategic. By mastering silence, you shift the power dynamic in your favor, leaving your enemies trembling at the thought of your next move. Why does silence make people so uncomfortable? The answer lies in the psychology of uncertainty, and it's a weapon you can wield with precision. Silence triggers a primal response in the human brain. When someone speaks and you respond with silence, it creates a void of information. Our brains are wired to fear the unknown, and silence amplifies that fear. Your enemies, expecting a reaction, are left scrambling to interpret your lack of response. This uncertainty makes them doubt their own power over you. Neuroscience shows that silence activates the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear. When you remain silent, you force your enemies to confront their own anxieties. They start questioning their actions, wondering if they've miscalculated or underestimated you. This mental turmoil weakens their position and strengthens yours. The Stoics understood this instinctively. By embracing silence, they created an aura of mystery and control. People fear what they can't predict, and silence makes you unpredictable. It's not about being cold or aloof. It's about creating a psychological advantage that keeps your enemies off balance. Think of silence as a form of emotional jiu-jitsu. Instead of meeting aggression with aggression, you redirect their energy back at them. They come at you with words, expecting a fight, but your silence disarms them. It's a subtle yet devastating way to assert dominance without saying a word. Into the end, silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's a deliberate strategy. It forces your enemies to fill the void with their own fears, insecurities, and doubts, and in that void, you hold all the power. What if the key to intimidating your enemies wasn't about what you do to them, but what you don't let them do to you? At the heart of Stoicism is the principle of self-control, the idea that you cannot control external events, but you can always control your reactions. When someone tries to provoke you, your greatest power lies in choosing not to react. This isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. By staying calm, you deny your enemies the satisfaction of seeing you rattled. The Stoics believed that emotions like anger and fear are weaknesses, gaps in your armor that others can exploit. When you respond with silence, you close those gaps. Your enemies, who thrive on emotional chaos, are left with nothing to grab onto. This unnerves them because it shows that you're operating on a higher level of self-discipline. Think of self-control as a fortress. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you reinforce its walls. Your enemies may try to provoke you, but they'll eventually tire when they realize their attacks have no effect. This is how you turn their aggression against them, by making it clear that they have no power over your emotions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Silence is the ultimate expression of this power. It shows that you're not swayed by external forces, And that level of inner strength is both intimidating and inspiring. By mastering your reactions, you send a clear message. You are unshakable. And when your enemies realize they can't shake you, they'll either retreat or rethink their approach. Either way, you win. What if ignoring your enemies didn't make you look weak, but made you look invincible? Here's how to do it right. Ignoring provocations is an art, and when done correctly, it's one of the most powerful statements you can make. The key is to avoid giving the impression that you're avoiding conflict out of fear. Instead, your silence should radiate confidence and control. This subtle shift in perception turns what could be seen as weakness into undeniable strength. The Stoics taught that true power lies in indifference, not the kind that comes from apathy, but the kind that comes from self-assurance. When you ignore provocations, you're not pretending the problem doesn't exist. You're showing that it doesn't control you. This sends a clear message. You're above the petty games your enemies are playing. Body language plays a crucial role here. Maintain a calm, composed demeanor. Avoid defensive gestures like crossed arms or avoiding eye contact. Instead, stand tall, make steady eye contact, and let your silence speak volumes. This nonverbal communication reinforces the idea that you're unbothered and in control. It's also important to choose your battles wisely. Not every provocation deserves a response. By selectively ignoring attacks, you show that you're the one setting the terms of engagement. This strategic silence forces your enemies to question their own relevance. Are they even worth your attention? Ignoring provocations isn't about running away from conflict. It's about redefining it. You're not avoiding the fight, you're ending it before it even begins. And that's what makes you truly intimidating. What if the best way to defeat your enemies wasn't to attack them, but to make them attack themselves? The mirror technique is a powerful Stoic strategy that turns your enemy's actions against them. When someone tries to provoke or belittle you, instead of reacting, you reflect their behavior back at them, not through words, but through silence and composure. This forces them to confront their own flaws and insecurities, often without even realizing it. Here's how it works. When your enemy attacks, they're seeking a reaction, a sign that they've gotten under your skin. But when you respond with calm indifference, you deny them that satisfaction. Instead, they're left staring at their own aggression, which suddenly feels disproportionate and unnecessary. This creates a moment of self-awareness that can be deeply unsettling for them. The Stoics believed that people's actions are a reflection of their inner state. When someone tries to provoke you, it's often because they're struggling with their own insecurities. By refusing to engage, you hold up a mirror to their behavior, forcing them to see what's really driving them. This can be a humbling experience, one that makes them question their own motives. Think of it like this. If someone throws a punch and you step aside, they're the ones who lose balance. The mirror technique works the same way. By not engaging, you let their own energy destabilize them, and as they stumble, you remain standing tall, unshaken, and in control. This technique isn't about manipulation, it's about clarity. It shows your enemies the truth about themselves, and that truth is often far more powerful than any argument or retaliation. What if every time you explained yourself, you were handing your enemies a weapon to use against you? Over-explaining is a common trap, especially when you feel misunderstood or attacked. But the Stoics knew that the more you try to justify yourself, the weaker you appear. When you over-explain, you're essentially asking for validation, and that gives your enemies power over you. Silence, on the other hand, communicates confidence and self-assurance. The need to explain often stems from a fear of being judged or rejected. But here's the truth. People who are determined to misunderstand you won't be swayed by your words. In fact, they'll use your explanations as ammunition, twisting your words to fit their narrative. By refusing to engage, you deny them that opportunity. The Stoics believed that your actions should speak louder than your words. If you've done nothing wrong, there's no need to defend yourself. Let your character and integrity stand on their own. This doesn't mean you should never explain yourself. It means you should do so only when it serves a purpose, not out of fear or insecurity. Think of it like a chess game. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you're sacrificing a piece. But when you stay silent, you force your enemies to make the next move. This puts them in a vulnerable position as they're left to guess your intentions and strategies. Over-explaining is a form of self-sabotage. It shows that you care more about others' opinions than your own self-worth. By embracing silence, you reclaim your power and leave your enemies with nothing to grasp. What if your body could speak louder than your words and silence your enemies without a single sound? Body language is a silent yet powerful tool in the Stoic arsenal. When you combine silence with confident, deliberate, non-verbal cues, you create an aura of authority that can intimidate even the most aggressive opponents. Your posture, eye contact, and gestures send a clear message. You are in control and you cannot be shaken. Start with your posture. Stand tall with your shoulders back and your head held high. This not only makes you appear more confident, but also triggers a physiological response that boosts your own sense of power. Avoid fidgeting or crossing your arms, as these gestures can signal nervousness or defensiveness. Instead, keep your movements calm and deliberate. Eye contact is another crucial element. When you maintain steady, unflinching eye contact, you communicate confidence and resolve. It shows that you're not afraid to face your enemies head-on. At the same time, avoid staring aggressively, as this can come across as confrontational. The goal is to project calm authority, not hostility. Your facial expressions also play a role. A neutral, composed expression can be far more intimidating than anger or frustration. It shows that you're unfazed by your enemy's attempts to provoke you. This lack of reaction can be deeply unsettling, as it denies them the emotional response they're seeking. Your body language is a reflection of your inner state. By aligning your non-verbal cues with the Stoic principles of calm and self-control, you project an image of unshakable strength. And when your enemies see that strength, they'll think twice before challenging you again. What if the most powerful weapon against your enemies wasn't something you did, but something you didn't do? Time is a silent ally, and patience is one of the most underrated Stoic strategies. When you refuse to rush into reactions, you take control of the situation. Your enemies, who thrive on immediate conflict, are left frustrated and exposed. By waiting, you force them to reveal their true intentions and their weaknesses. The Stoics understood that impulsive reactions often lead to mistakes. When you respond too quickly, you're more likely to say or do something you'll regret. But when you pause and let time work in your favor, you gain clarity and perspective. This allows you to respond strategically rather than emotionally. Think of patience as a form of psychological warfare. Your enemies expect you to react immediately, and when you don't, it throws them off balance. They may even start to doubt their own actions, wondering if they've miscalculated or overplayed their hand. This uncertainty weakens their position and strengthens yours. Time also has a way of exposing truth. When you wait, you give your enemies enough rope to hang themselves. Their aggression, manipulation, or dishonesty will eventually become obvious to everyone around them. By staying silent and patient, you let their own actions condemn them. Patience isn't about inaction. It's about strategic waiting. It's about letting time reveal what words cannot. And when the moment is right, you'll be in the best position to act or to walk away, leaving your enemies to deal with the consequences of their own behavior. What if the greatest leaders and warriors in history owed their success not to their words but to their silence? Throughout history, some of the most formidable figures have used silence as a weapon. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who ruled Rome during one of its most turbulent periods. Instead of reacting to every threat or provocation, he maintained a calm, composed demeanor. His silence wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a display of unshakable authority. Another example is Mahatma Gandhi, who used silence and non-violence to dismantle an empire. His refusal to engage in the aggressive tactics of his oppressors left them powerless. They expected a fight, but Gandhi's silence and patience exposed the futility of their aggression. This strategy not only weakened his enemies, but also inspired millions to join his cause. In the business world, figures like Warren Buffett have mastered the art of strategic silence. When faced with criticism or market volatility, Buffett rarely reacts impulsively. Instead, he waits, observes, and acts only when the time is right. This approach has made him one of the most successful investors in history. Even in sports, silence can be a game changer. Muhammad Ali famously said, "Silence is golden when you can't think of a good answer." But Ali's silence wasn't just about avoiding confrontation, it was about psychological warfare. By staying silent at key moments, he unnerved his opponents and gained a mental edge. These stories show that silence isn't just a personal strategy, it's a universal tool for dominance. Whether in politics, business, or everyday life, the ability to remain silent in the face of provocation is a mark of true strength. And when your enemies see that strength, they'll think twice before challenging you. What if the ultimate revenge against your enemies wasn't to hate them, but to stop caring about them entirely? Indifference is one of the most potent weapons in the Stoic toolkit. When you stop giving attention to your enemies, you strip them of their power. Hate and anger still mean you care, but indifference sends a clear message. They no longer matter to you. This realization is far more devastating to them than any retaliation. The Stoics believe that your energy is a finite resource, and wasting it on people who don't deserve it is a form of self-sabotage. By choosing indifference, you reclaim that energy and redirect it toward things that truly matter. This shift not only weakens your enemies, but also strengthens your own sense of purpose and peace. Think of indifference as a form of emotional detachment. When you stop reacting to your enemy's provocations, you break the cycle of conflict. They can no longer manipulate your emotions or control your actions. This leaves them powerless, as they realize their attempts to provoke you are futile. Indifference also has a psychological impact on your enemies. When they see that their actions have no effect on you, it forces them to confront their own irrelevance. This can be a humbling experience, one that makes them question their own motives and behavior. Indifference isn't about ignoring problems or pretending they don't exist. It's about choosing where to invest your energy. And when you stop investing in your enemies, you create space for growth, peace, and true power. What if the best way to defeat your enemies wasn't to fight them, but to make them fight for you? Silence and composure can be so disarming that they have the power to transform enemies into allies. When you refuse to engage in conflict, you create a space for your enemies to reconsider their stance. Your calm demeanor can inspire respect, and over time, that respect can turn into loyalty. The Stoics believe that people are often driven by emotion rather than reason. When you respond to hostility with silence, you give your enemies the opportunity to calm down and think clearly. This shift in perspective can lead them to see you in a new light, not as an adversary but as someone worthy of admiration. Think of it like this: when you don't react to provocation, you're essentially giving your enemies a chance to reflect on their own behavior. This self-reflection can be a powerful catalyst for change. They may start to question why they saw you as a threat in the first place, and this can open the door to reconciliation. Your silence can also serve as a form of leadership. When others see how you handle conflict with grace and composure, they're more likely to follow your example. This can create a ripple effect, turning not just your enemies but also bystanders into allies. Turning enemies into allies isn't about manipulation. It's about demonstrating a higher standard of behavior. When you show that you're above petty conflicts, you inspire others to rise to your level. And that's how you turn opposition into opportunity. What if you could start intimidating your enemies and reclaiming your power right now? Here's how to begin. The power of Stoic silence isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a practical tool you can use in your everyday life. To get started, follow these 3 actionable steps. Pause before reacting. When faced with provocation, take a deep breath and count to 10. This simple pause gives you the space to choose your response rather than reacting impulsively. It's a small but powerful way to practice self-control and deny your enemies the reaction they're seeking. Master your body language. Stand tall, maintain steady eye contact, and keep your facial expressions neutral. Your body language should communicate confidence and composure even when you're silent. This non-verbal communication reinforces the message that you're in control and unshakable. Redirect your energy. Instead of wasting time and energy on people who don't deserve it, Focus on what truly matters. Use the mental clarity that comes from silence to pursue your goals, strengthen your relationships, and build a life of purpose. Silence is more than the absence of words. It's a statement of strength, a shield against manipulation, and a tool for transformation. By mastering the art of Stoic silence, you can intimidate your enemies, inspire respect, and reclaim your power. But don't stop here. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button and subscribe for more powerful insights on Stoicism and personal growth. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one situation where you'll use Stoic silence this week? Let's build a community of strength and wisdom together. Remember, the quieter you become, the more powerful you grow. See you in the next video.